So Mali, I'm Ayoob Pallie, and with me here today are my colleagues Abdullah, Azhar, and Charith Ahangama. So Mali, today we will be doing a lecture regarding living fossils. So we are here on behalf of the Wilderness and Wildlife Protection Society Senior Committee Mali. So Mali, this topic is a complex topic and you wouldn't have heard it much. So Mali, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box, Mali, and we will try to answer your questions, Mali. So Mali, for today's lecture, we will be talking about what living fossils are. So Mali will be giving you all a brief introduction about what living fossils are. And then Mali will be explaining what are the types of living fossils. And then Mali will go on further to explain the examples as living fossils as well. So once again, Mali, if you all have any doubts, just drop it in the chat box and we'll try our best to answer, Mali. So Mali, can everyone see my screen? Someone?
Yes, Aya.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, Aya.
Great. So Mali, have you all heard about living fossils before?
yes, Aya.
Yes, Aya.
Yes,
Do you all have anything you all want to share regarding this topic?
Aya, they are basically just prehistoric animals which are still living today.
Yeah, correct. Very correct, Mali. Good answer. Okay, so Mali, like that Mali said, that is a correct answer. So I'll also share my thoughts before we go on to the presentation. So Mali, according to me, Mali, there are three key factors that should be considered for a species to be known as a living fossil. The first factor, like this Mali said earlier, was it should be ancient. So the species should be really ancient. So maybe 20 million years ago, 1 million years ago, it should be really ancient. That's the first key factor to determine for it to be the species to be a living fossil. The second key factor is Mali, the species should have survived an extinct scenario. So like for example, if we take the dinosaurs, Mali, so like we believe according to mostly they got extinct due to the meteorite, right? So if we take a species that was in the time of the dinosaurs or even before the time of the dinosaurs, Mali, they are considered to be living fossils because the meteorite is the factor where they were about to be extinct and they are very ancient. So Mali, which is moving on to my third point, Mali. So the third factor to be considered of a living fossil is they should have slight evolution to no evolution. So they can maybe slightly evolve, but Mali, they should be the exact same characteristics they should have and they should look the exact same way when they were discovered. So Mali, if these three main key factors are there, Mali, in this species, we can consider them to be a living fossil. So does anyone have any questions regarding that? Okay. So now going towards the presentation, Mali, a living fossil is an organism that has retained the same form over millions of years. It's like I told Mali, a really ancient species, Mali, so over millions of years. Has few or non-living relatives and represents a sole surviving lineage from an epoch long past. So again, from ancient, and they have survived an extinct scenario. So many living fossils alive today. So Mali, this is the pig-nosed turtle, and this is the goblin shark, Mali. Have unusual traits that make them seem otherworldly. So Mali, by that what they mean is, Mali, all these species, Mali, they have a unique characteristic where only they have that certain characteristic. So yeah, so Mali, this is again the pig-nosed turtle,
Aya.
and this is the goblin shark. Yeah, Mali.
Aya, the pig-nosed turtle is also known as flying river turtle, right?
Yeah, that is correct, Mali. Yeah, true. Anything else you want to add on, Mali?
No, Aya.
Okay. So Mali, this is the goblin shark. It looks really scary, doesn't it? Okay,
Yes.
so it is a really scary animal, Mali. It's very dangerous, Mali. It's one of the most dangerous types of animals, Mali. So yeah, it is. So moving on to the next point. They have often survived several mass extinctions. Again, Mali, coming to my key point. They have survived an extinct scenario. and many scientists consider them to be a rare glimpse into how life on Earth was long time ago. Okay, so Mali, again, like I told, ancient, they should be really ancient. So Mali, when we look at them and consider their characteristics, Mali, we have a glimpse of how the species were in the past. So if you get what I mean, like if we look at them and their characteristics, we have a good idea on like how the species were long time ago. Do you all have any questions, Mali?
Sorry, Aya, I have a class at 6:30. Is it okay if I can if I can leave at 6:30?
Sure, Mali. The lecture should finish at around that time. Yeah, you could be able to leave, Mali.
Yeah, recently they added a new animal to the living fossils group, right? The golem snakehead.
Probably, Mali. Yeah, I've not heard exactly, but yeah. True.
Yeah, excuse me, Aya.
Yes, Mali.
Yeah, Aya, like that golem snake, they discovered it like about 2 years ago, and
Okay.
it's like it was found in like a paddy field area in India when there was like a flood, and even though they called it a snake head, it's not a real snake head. It's a living fossil, but then they made a separate like group for it called Enigma Channa, and like it's a completely different fish, but it's also a living fossil.
Yeah, true. There could be species like that considered as living fossils, Mali. Thank you for sharing your information, Mali. Yeah. Okay, so moving on, Mali, there are different types of living fossils. Yes, Mali.
The first living fossil that was found is the coelacanth, right?
I'm not really sure about that, Mali, but could be.
No, the lungfish was found way before.
Okay. Does anyone have any idea on that? You all can share.
Yeah. Like first lungfish were like discovered. First African lungfish were discovered for like having that ability to like come out of water and dig a hole and like stay and then even biches and like they are all armored fish. Those
Some
were
types
discovered.
of snakeheads. The mural.
In 1938, the coelacanth was found in Madagascar by some fishermen.
Yeah, Mali, so all these animals are, these species are discovered like through these researchers, Mali. So that's a really well-known fact that you all are aware of that as well. Do you all have any other knowledge to share, Mali, with others?
Yeah, like there's like a thing like with the lungfish. Like first they discovered the African lungfish, but they like later on they found the Australian lungfish, and that's how they realized that like scientists are not sure, but they have like they're spectating that like lungfish are trying to evolve into something like a turtle, something with flippers, since African lungfish had no flippers, but then like just like long thin fins, and then Australian lungfish have like flippers, and Australian lungfish are like better at swimming, so they expected that they would have evolved into something like a turtle.
Okay.
In the future.
Good fact. Okay, so Mali, do you all have anything else to add on? Anyone else? Okay, so moving on, Mali, I'm really happy to see that you all have researched a lot about living fossils, Mali. You all know a lot of knowledge, and please do share like this, Mali, because everyone will get to know what you all know, Mali, and sharing knowledge is always a good thing. Okay, so moving on, Mali, living fossils can be categorized into two types, Mali. So one is animal living fossils, as we spoke now, like you all know a lot about animal living fossils, but Mali, there are plant living fossils as well. So these are the examples of plant living fossils, Mali, and my colleague will explain on them later or briefly about these plant living fossils and animal living fossils. Okay, so moving on, Mali, about animal living fossils, like you all know, so basically animal living fossils are living fossils which are animals. So on the presentation we have animal living fossils are animal species that have retained the same with slight change to no change at all. So Mali, these are a few examples of animal living fossils. Does anyone know which species this is?
That's a red panda.
Okay, and what about this?
It's a crane, I think.
Yeah, it's a sandhill crane. So this most of y'all will know.
Duckbill platypus from Australia.
Yeah, duck platypus. Yeah, correct. Okay, so Mali, now I'd like to invite my colleague Abdullah Azhar to explain on these examples furthermore. Please welcome. Abdullah.
Yeah, thank you, Ayoob. Mali, can I know if you all can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I.
Okay, so as Ayoob said, there are two types of living fossils. The first one is animal living fossils, and the second one is plant living fossils. So I will be covering up the animal living fossils only. So the first example we got is the Komodo dragon. So does any of you all have any facts you all know about the Komodo dragon?
Largest
It's a
lizard
type of
in
monitor
the
lizard.
world.
It's the largest lizard in the world.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so before I go to the presentation, I would like to share my facts first. So yeah, the Komodo dragon is known as the Komodo monitor as well. So the Komodo dragon has teeth sharp as sharks, and it's like almost like a shark's teeth, and it has a very highly poisonous venom that can kill a person within an hour of bite. So as you all can see, the Komodo dragon is really venomous, and no wonder it's one of the largest lizards as well. So Malli, I have a question for you all. Do you all know what is the average speed a Komodo dragon can run on land?
As fast as a human, I think.
Uh, well, the speed is Malli.
40 miles per hour.
Yeah, 20 miles per hour. So yeah, and another thing is, do you all know how they capture their prey?
By biting its leg, yeah.
Then they
Because its
follow the
venom
prey
will
around for
penetrate
days
its
for it
body.
to die from the bacteria.
They ambush them.
Yeah, correct. So once they find their prey, they wait for a bit, and then they inject venom from their tongue to their prey, and they wait for them to get most probably fully immobilized and fall on the ground. And after that happens, only they grip their prey, and then only they start ripping them open. And yeah, next we'll move on.
Yeah, but what we have in Sri Lanka, the Bengal monitor was there for like way longer than Komodo dragon, right? Thalagoya.
I think so. Just yeah, Malli. Can you repeat the question again for me, please?
Thalagoya, the Bengal monitor, it was like there for way longer than the Komodo dragon, right?
Yeah, it might be Malli. I'm really not sure about that. I will let you all know later, Malli.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Malli. Yeah. So let's move on to the presentation. So yeah, most people would agree that no other lizard in the world looks more prehistoric than a Komodo dragon. They can be, yeah. So the Komodo dragon has been found back at 40 million years ago. As you can see, as Ayoob said, the key factor is they have to be more than 1 million years old to be in the fossil category. So yeah, and the first seen, they were first seen in Asia, and the Komodo dragons later migrated to Australia. And yeah, so the Komodo dragon measures up to 10 feet long, and they weigh up to 350 pounds. And Malli, the Komodo dragon has been named after the Indonesian island Komodo, and it was and in their ancestors first appeared in Australia some 100 million years ago. So as you all can see, 100 million years is a lot, and being there for that long, they have been in the living fossils category. So yeah, other than that, Malli, do you all have any questions or facts you all want to share with the others? Yeah. So Malli, you all can hear me, right?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
Yes, Aya.
So next, Malli, we will be moving on to the sandhill crane. Malli, have you all ever seen this somewhere, anywhere? Okay. So does anyone know anything related to the sandhill crane? So I think no one has any information. I'll share what I have done so far. So the sandhill crane is a species of a large crane, and it is mostly found in North America and the extreme northeastern Siberia. So yeah, yeah. The sandhill crane has been dated back 10 million years ago, and they have several subspecies known as the Mississippi sandhill crane and the Cuban sandhill crane, and some of them are already endangered. Mostly the Mississippi sandhill crane and the Cuban sandhill crane have already been endangered. So yeah, so as you all know, birds migrate. So just as normal birds, the sandhill crane also migrate annually. So mostly hundreds of thousands of migrate from Mexico and the southern United States all the way up to the Arctic. So those are the places they mostly migrate to, Malay. And yeah, so Malay, does anyone know their biggest threat of being endangered? Anyone? Yeah, so the biggest threat is the habitat loss and their wetland loss. Mostly, if they don't have places filled with water like that, then mostly they can't survive. So that's why, due to global warming as well, most of them have been endangered. Yeah, Mali, do any of y'all have any questions you all want to ask from me? Mali? Yeah, okay. Then let's move on. Next, we'll move on to the red panda. Mali, just to know, can you all hear me? You can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we can hear.
Yes, sir, we can hear.
Okay, red panda. So Mali, I'm pretty sure most of y'all have seen the red panda. So does any of y'all know anything interesting about the red panda?
Yeah, I know
They
something.
are not actually a panda, yeah. They are in the raccoon family.
Yeah, correct. They might have the name as panda, but they are not closely related to pandas at all. Correct.
Excuse me, Ayya.
And red pandas can be easily identified by their unique ruddy coat color, no?
Yeah, true, Mali.
Excuse me, Ayya.
Yeah,
And
Mali.
like even that like browser thing like Mozilla Firefox, that was also like based on them. And the
Yeah,
person
so,
who made that has 2 red pandas as pets.
yeah, so the red panda is also known as Firefox. Yeah, correct. So yeah, anyone else who likes to share their facts? Yeah. Yeah, so Mali, the red panda is a carnivorous animal that is native to the eastern Himalayas and southern China. Yeah, in 2020, scientists discovered that there are distinct species of red pandas known as the Himalayan red panda and the Chinese red panda. And yeah, do you all know why they are endangered? Like, why are they subjected to be endangered?
Because of low food. That means, yeah, low food.
Yeah,
They are caught for the illegal pet trade.
yeah, actually, correct answer. Both are correct. So
They are
yeah,
taught to make like different fashion items like fursuits.
yeah, correct. So yeah, it was listed that they are endangered because of poaching mostly, and that there are less than 10,000 of species left. So due to poaching and as you all said, Malli, because of that, they have been listed as endangered species. And one more thing, yeah, even though these creatures look adorable, they have really sharp teeth and really sharp claws, and they can scent glands that emits musky liquid. Does anyone know the meaning of musky liquid?
Is it must? Oh, is it? What is it, Taya? Can you repeat it?
Does anyone know the meaning of musky liquid?
No.
Yeah, so it's like it smells like musk, like a substance with a strong smell. Yeah, that's dangerous as they say. And the relatives of the red panda lived between 5 and 12 million years ago. And as Amalli said, even though they are named as a red panda, they are not closely related to giant pandas at all. Yeah, Amalli, that will be it for red pandas. Do you all have any questions to ask? Okay, yeah. Moving on, we will be moving on to the platypus, Amalli. I'm pretty sure most of you all would have heard about the platypus. Does anyone know any fun fact about them? Or anything interesting?
Yeah, they have like a claw at the back of one of their like.
It's a spine. Males have it.
Yeah, ma'am. Do it like Bill and
It has poison.
has made the platypus one of Australia.
Yeah, all of the answers are correct.
It's the animal that lays eggs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
Malik?
have a dark brown fur and is flat and streamlined.
Yeah, and it's the only mammal that can lay eggs.
Yeah. Yeah, so as they say, it has a snout of a duck and a hairy body like a mammal. And it's hard, and mostly it's hard to find a more unique animal than a egg-laying platypus. So the platypus is semi-aquatic and it's endemic to the eastern Australia, and it's mostly referred as the duck-billed platypus. So yeah, the egg-laying platypus, mostly the platypus, they have 10 instead of 2 chromosomes, and like other mammals, they are one of the most venomous mammals in the world. So yeah, as they say, they might look like a cute animal, but their venom can be very lethal and it's one of the most venomous venoms. So yeah, so with saying that, there's no wonder that they've been living for so long. So a fossil of a platypus mammal dates back as to 100 to 146 million years ago. That makes them very valuable for studying mammal evolution. And mostly the mammals lay 2 small leathery eggs mostly, and they are known to be very intelligent. So living for 100 to 146 million years ago and still being here makes them very valuable, and no wonder they are the most venomous mammals in the whole world because they've been living for so long. Yeah, so Malli, do you all have any questions regarding the platypus? Yeah, so Malli, that will be for the animal endangered species. Do you all have anything you all want to share or you all want to ask about any endangered living fossil animals?
Excuse me, Aya.
Yeah, is a Galaria a fossil? A live fossil.
Sorry, Malli?
Is a Galaria a fossil animal?
Galeria?
Yes, the crocodile, type of crocodile.
Yeah, so crocodiles are mostly, they are known for living fossils since they were like there were some big crocodiles from the dinosaur period as well. So the crocodiles are actually listed as fossil animals as well.
Yeah, that's.
And excuse me, Aya.
Yeah.
Aya, there's like an animal. It's called a tuatara. It's like a reptile, but it's like it looks exactly like a lizard, but it's like nothing related to lizard. Like it broke up from the evolution of lizards like millions of years ago and like moved in its own way, and like so it's basically nothing related to lizard, and it has a third eye like at the top of its head when it's young, which it like later gets like covered by flesh, like skin.
Yeah, but you're talking about the unique animal to New Zealand, right?
Yeah, tuatara.
Yeah,
In
sure.
New Zealand, yeah.
Actually, we are really happy to see that all of you all know about the fossils and like studied about them. Yeah, does anyone want to ask anything else about any living fossil or anything? Yeah, okay. So Malli, that will be it for the animal living fossils. Thank you all for listening, and I will be giving it to Ayoob again.
Thank you, Abdullah, for explaining this. So, Mali, fun fact about platypus. Has anyone watched the cartoon Phineas and Ferb? Anyone?
Yes, I know.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I read the
So-
platypus.
Okay. So in that there is a platypus, right? And he's really
Yes.
intelligent.
What cartoon are you?
Phineas and Ferb.
No, I haven't watched it.
Okay. To whoever who have watched it, you all know he's like really intelligent. He works on an agency. So Mali, even though that's a bit exaggerated, Mali, the actual platypus is as well intelligent. So it's a key factor for its survival, Mali. Just wanted to add that point there. So they are actually really intelligent species, Mali. Not as intelligent as us human beings, but to a certain extent, they are pretty intelligent. Okay, so Mali, moving on, we have a video for you all regarding living fossils. I hope you all gain some knowledge and enjoy it, Mali. Mali, you all can hear, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
The dead coming back to life sounds scary, but for scientists, it can be a wonderful opportunity. Of course, we're not talking about zombies. Rather, this particular opportunity came in the unlikely form of a large, slow-moving fish called the coelacanth. This oddity dates back 360 million years and was believed to have died out during the same mass extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. To biologists and paleontologists, this creature was a very old and fascinating, but entirely extinct fish, forever fossilized. That is, until 1938, when Marjorie Courtenay-Latimer, a curator at a South African museum, came across a prehistoric-looking, gleaming blue fish hauled up at the nearby docks. She had a hunch that the strange 1.5-meter-long specimen was important, but couldn't preserve it in time to be studied and had it taxidermied. When she finally was able to reach J.L.B. Smith, a local fish expert, he was able to confirm at first sight that the creature was indeed a coelacanth. But it was another 14 years before a live specimen was found in the Comoros Islands, allowing scientists to closely study a creature that had barely evolved in 300 million years.
Yes, a living fossil.
A living fossil. Decades later, a second species was found near Indonesia. The survival of creatures thought extinct for so long proved to be one of the biggest discoveries of the century.
Zombie fish.
But the fact that the coelacanth came back from the dead isn't all that makes this fish so astounding. Even more intriguing is the fact that genetically and morphologically, the coelacanth has more in common with four-limbed vertebrates than almost any other fish, and its smaller genome is ideal for study. This makes the coelacanth a powerful link between aquatic and land vertebrates, a living record of their transition from water to land millions of years ago. The secret to this transition is in the fins.
So tired.
While the majority of ocean fish fall into the category of ray-finned fishes, coelacanths are part of a much smaller, evolutionarily distinct group with thicker fins, known as lobe-finned fish. 6 of the coelacanth's fins contain bones organized much like our limbs, with one bone connecting the fin to the body, another 2 connecting the bone to the tip of the fin, and several small finger-like bones at the tip. Not only are those fins structured in pairs to move in a synchronized way, the coelacanth even shares the same genetic sequence that promotes limb development in land vertebrates. So although the coelacanth itself isn't a landwalker, its fins do resemble those of its close relatives, who first hauled their bodies onto land with the help of these sturdy, flexible appendages, acting as an evolutionary bridge to the landlubbers that followed. So that's how this prehistoric fish helps explain the evolutionary movement of vertebrates from water to land. Over millions of years, that transition led to the spread of all four-limbed animals, called tetrapods, like amphibians, birds, and even the mammals that are our ancestors. There's even another powerful clue in that unlike most fish, coelacanths don't lay eggs, instead giving birth to live young pups, just like mammals. And this prehistoric fish will continue to provide us with fascinating information about the migration of vertebrates out of the ocean over 300 million years ago, a journey that ultimately drove our own evolution, survival, and existence. Today, the coelacanth remains a symbol of the wondrous mysteries that remain to be uncovered by science. With so much left to learn about this fish, the ocean depths, and evolution itself, who knows what other well-kept secrets our future discoveries may bring to life?
I got disconnected in half of it. Can you play it again?
Wait, Mali, okay, you want me to play it again? Okay, I'll play it again for you, Mali. Give me a second, Mali. Mali, now you can see, right?
Yes, we can see.
Sorry about that, Mali. It's fine if you're watching it again, right? Everyone else?
It's okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mali, for supporting your brother.
The dead coming back to life sounds scary, but for scientists, it can be a wonderful opportunity. Of course, we're not talking about zombies. Rather, this particular opportunity came in the unlikely form of a large, slow-moving fish called the coelacanth. This oddity dates back 360 million years and was believed to have died out during the same mass extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. To biologists and paleontologists, this creature was a very old and fascinating, but entirely extinct fish, forever fossilized. That is, until 1938, when Marjorie Courtenay Latimer, a curator at a South African museum, came across a prehistoric-looking, gleaming blue fish hauled up at the nearby docks. She had a hunch that the strange 1.5-meter-long specimen was important, but couldn't preserve it in time to be studied and had it taxidermied. When she finally was able to reach J.L.B. Smith, a local fish expert, he was able to confirm at first sight that the creature was indeed a coelacanth. But it was another 14 years before a live specimen was found in the Comoros Islands, allowing scientists to closely study a creature that had barely evolved in 300 million years.
Yes, a living fossil.
A living fossil. Decades later, a second species was found near Indonesia. The survival of creatures thought extinct for so long proved to be one of the biggest discoveries of the century.
Zombie fish.
But the fact that the coelacanth came back from the dead isn't all that makes this fish so astounding. Even more intriguing is the fact that genetically and morphologically, the coelacanth has more in common with four-limbed vertebrates than almost any other fish, and its smaller genome is ideal for study. This makes the coelacanth a powerful link between aquatic and land vertebrates, a living record of their transition from water to land millions of years ago. The secret to this transition is in the fins.
So tired.
While the majority of ocean fish fall into the category of ray-finned fishes, coelacanths are part of a much smaller, evolutionarily distinct group with thicker fins, known as lobe-finned fish. 6 of the coelacanth's fins contain bones organized much like our limbs, with one bone connecting the fin to the body, another 2 connecting the bone to the tip of the fin, and several small finger-like bones at the tip. Not only are those fins structured in pairs to move in a synchronized way, the coelacanth even shares the same genetic sequence that promotes limb development in land vertebrates. So although the coelacanth itself isn't a landwalker, its fins do resemble those of its close relatives,
Yeah, g'day.
who first hauled their bodies onto land with the help of these sturdy, flexible appendages, acting as an evolutionary bridge to the landlubbers that followed. So that's how this prehistoric fish helps explain the evolutionary movement of vertebrates from water to land. Over millions of years, that transition led to the spread of all four-limbed animals, called tetrapods, like amphibians, birds, and even the mammals that are our ancestors. There's even another powerful clue in that unlike most fish, coelacanths don't lay eggs, instead giving birth to live young pups, just like mammals. And this prehistoric fish will continue to provide us with fascinating information about the migration of vertebrates out of the ocean over 300 million years ago, a journey that ultimately drove our own evolution, survival, and existence. Today, the coelacanth remains a symbol of the wondrous mysteries that remain to be uncovered by science. With so much left to learn about this fish, the ocean depths, and evolution itself, who knows what other well-kept secrets our future discoveries may bring to life?
Okay, Mali, hopefully everyone was able to watch that video because it was a very educational video. So, Mali, what did you all understand through this? Does anyone want to share their thoughts? Hello? Mali, you can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, so they spoke about the coelacanth, right? So it is like as they mentioned, Mali, these living fossils help us a lot during research, Mali. So as the coelacanth, it's a direct link to living vertebrates, as they mentioned, right? So yeah, keep that in mind as well. Okay, so Mali, moving on, now we have the second type of living fossils, Mali, which is the plant living fossils. So Mali, to explain further on this topic, Mali, I'd like to invite my colleague to explain this briefly, Mali. Charith, on to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ayoob. So first of all, guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So just to start things off, do you all know who who found the term that, so living fossils are commonly used today, right? The word living fossils, right? Everyone, it's defined basically plants that lived during ancient times and that are still alive on Earth today, right? So does anyone know who brought that concept into life, right? Who was the biologist behind that? Yeah, so I guess not. So it was brought to life by Charles Darwin. Do you all know who that is? He's an English biologist, and he.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
He's the one who
If you
discovered
all
the
know anything
Galapagos
about-
Island.
Sorry, Mali.
He's the one who discovered the Galapagos Island.
Oh, okay. So if you all know anything else about him or his research or whatever, just feel free to add. Okay.
Yeah, he's the one who like brought up evolutionary theories and how species evolve.
Yeah, true. So he's best known for his contribution towards the science of evolution and his proposition that all species of life have descended from common ancestors and all of that. That is what he's really popular for and he's well known for, right? So moving on towards our presentation. So we discussed about animals that are living fossils earlier, right? So like the coelacanth and platypus and all of that. So just like animals, there are plants that are living fossils as well. So do you all know any examples about, plants that are living fossils?
What about the monkey puzzle tree?
Yeah, Mali, actually, we're going to talk about that. So, yeah. So when we come to that topic, if you know anything about that tree, feel free to add, okay?
I had the guinea hunter fern tree.
Can you repeat that, please?
Guinea hunter.
You're not that audible, Mali. If you don't mind, please type that in the chat so you can all see what it is.
What about the redwood tree?
Oh, yeah. So that is another example that we chose for today's lecture. So we would be touching on all that. So, yeah. we've not heard, at least I've not heard about that tree, Mali. Oak tree, yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the oak tree. So yeah, nice. It's nice to know that you all know about these topics and you are aware of, these things. Okay, so let's move on with the presentation.
Yeah.
So plant, yeah, Mali.
Yeah, there's something called a ginkgo tree or something, right?
Yeah, Mali,
It's
you're
also-
talking
Yeah, I
about
think
the
that's good.
ginkgo tree.
It's also like a living fossil.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, true.
What about
Okay,
the
so
baobab
moving on
tree
with
in Madagascar? Aya?
Oh yeah, so you get to see the baobab tree in Mana as well, if I'm right. Malik, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Now you can hear.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now okay.
Okay, sorry for that. So let's continue the presentation. So plant living fossils are plant species that have retained the same with slight change to no change at all, right? Those are plants as living fossils. Okay, so now you also have a pretty good knowledge about these things. So let's move on towards the examples, right? Yeah, okay. So you have the kauri tree. That's the first example that we chose for you all. So it's called, the scientific name is the Agathis australis and commonly known by its Maori name kauri, right? So you get to see these trees a lot in New Zealand, and there is actually another type of tree of the same species that you get to see in Australia as well. So this is the largest but not tall species of trees in New Zealand, standing up to 50 meters tall. Kauri forests are among the most ancient in the world, but it is such a conspicuous species. Forest containing kauri is generally known as kauri forest, right? So, do you all know anything, like unique about this tree? Or, do you all have anything to add on this?
The Maoris are the natives for Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, of New Zealand, Mali. Yeah, so they have their own, cultural language, and also this kauri the name kauri is actually based off that. That's what they mean by, commonly known by its Maori name kauri. So yeah, anything else? Okay, moving on. So this kauri tree, it actually has like complex roots and all of that. So in the next fact, it's one of the defining aspects of the kauri tree's unique ecological niche. It's is its relationship with the soil below. Although its feeding root system is very shallow, it also has several downwardly directed peg roots which anchor it firmly into the soil. Such a solid foundation is necessary to prevent a tree the size of a kauri from blowing over in storms and cyclones, right? So as you all know, if you all look into these pictures, you see that the kauri tree is like really big. So they really need a solid foundation just to make sure that these trees don't get blown over by storms and cyclones and all. And since it's pretty common in Australia and New Zealand and all those countries, they have earthquakes, cyclones, and all that frequently, right? So we'll see during the early ages, these kauri trees might have not having these big trunks and big root systems and all of that, but so basically living fossils. So with time, if there are necessary changes that will help them to evolve and make sure that this plant doesn't go extinct, just to adapt to the natural environment around them, they make certain changes to themselves, right? Not only animals, plants, like both species do that. So this root system might be one of those things, but we're not really sure about that. So yeah, anything else that you know about the kauri tree? Yeah, okay. And before we move on to the next example, so did you all know that living fossils, that plants are actually really important for scientists to have some sort of knowledge as to what the climate was like in the early stages of life on Earth, So when you look into these plants, knowing that they are living fossils, you can have a small idea of how the atmosphere changes were like 300 million years ago and all that. So that is quite a cool thing, and that is why living fossils are very important for scientists and all with their research. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. Next example. Yeah, so the monkey puzzle tree, like many of you all mentioned earlier. So it is also known as the monkey tail tree, right? So looks like you all know a bit about this tree. So if anyone wants to add anything, yeah, feel free to comment right now.
I've seen a monkey puzzle tree in Scotland.
Oh, nice. I didn't really know that they had monkey puzzle trees in Scotland and all, because it's very common in Chile and Argentina and all of that. So that is good to know. So Malli, since you have seen a monkey puzzle tree physically, is there anything unique to that tree that you don't normally see in other countries in Sri Lanka and all of that? Is there something that is really unique to that tree?
It's very hard to those trees. They have spikes in it, so it prevents them being eaten. The leaves.
Okay, so the leaves have spikes in it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So anything else?
Well, yeah. There are no branches like coconut trees. These trees don't have any branches.
Yeah, true. Is that it, Malli?
Yes.
Okay, so now that you all have a good idea about these things and that you all are sharing your knowledge with your friends and us as well. Okay, so let's move on to the presentation. So it's commonly called the monkey puzzle tree or the monkey tail tree. It's an evergreen tree growing to 1 to 1.5 meters in diameter and 30 to 40 meters in height. It is native to central and southern Chile and western Argentina. Because of the prevalence of similar species in ancient prehistory, it is called a living fossil. It is also the national tree of Chile. So that's why I told you that, it's pretty common in Chile and Argentina. So it is quite fascinating for us to get to know that, you get to see these trees in Scotland and all as well. Its conservation status was changed to endangered by the IUCN. As you all know, it's the International Union for Conservation of Nature in 2013. Due to the dwindling population caused by logging, forest fires, and grazing. Right, yeah. So, and we move on to the next thing. Logging, the major threat, was finally banned in 1990. Large fire burned thousands of acres of Araucaria forest in 2001 to 2002. And the areas of national parks have also burned, destroyed trees over 103,000 years old, right? So as you all can see, these trees are really old, and that is why it's called a living fossil. It helps scientists a lot to study these trees and get to know, get to have a good knowledge on how things were back then and what were the changes that happened throughout, its lifetime, and why it went through all these things and why some plants survived and some didn't and all those things, right? So Overgrazing and invasive trees are also threats. Extensive human harvesting of seeds can prevent new trees from growing. So as you all see, I'm not really sure about why these seeds and all are very attractive to humans, but they seem to have some kind of use from it. So that's why they harvest these seeds, right? But by harvesting these seeds, it damages these trees a lot and their natural habitat. And this being a living fossil, these trees are really important, right? It's important for the research and for us to get to know what it was back then during the prehistoric ages and all. So like I said, right, the government and these unions, they have taken certain measures to make sure that these things are limited, and logging and all, they're not being done anymore, because it should be, people should be aware of these things. So see, if someone knows about the value of this tree and what it brings towards towards our scientists and how it is important for them with their research and all, they might not really go and harm these trees, start logging and all these things. It's really important that they know that that people know about these things, and awareness is a key point here. So not only for logging these living fossils, right, but nature as a whole. So if people are aware of these things, deforestation, all that also would be down to a minimum. Okay, so we are kind of drifting apart from the topic. So yeah, let's move on back to our next example. Yeah, so before we dive into this, does anyone have any questions regarding the last two examples that we talked about? Okay, seems not. Okay, let's go with this then. Dawn Redwood. Not really sure they all are. Oh no, one Mali mentioned this, right? So Mali, if you are there, would you mind sharing your thoughts with us? Because you seem to know about this tree, so, and it is key that we share the knowledge we have with others. That's the whole point of having these discussions as well. So if you don't mind, you please unmute yourself and Okay, not really sure whether he's here right now.
Yeah. Yes. I've in England. When I visited England, in the National History Museum, I've seen the world's biggest dawn redwood, like a bark of not a bark. Well, yeah. Yeah. I've seen the world's biggest dawn redwood, a bark of yes.
Oh, okay. So it's to our knowledge that this is a native Chinese plant. So it is quite interesting that you saw that in England, but since it was in a museum, it makes sense. Okay. So dawn redwood is a genus of fast-growing deciduous trees, one of 3 species of conifers, known as redwoods. It is a native Chinese plant. So if you already know, so now Chinese and Japanese people, they have this feng shui and all, right? Things that go with their tradition. So the dawn redwood plant, they use the leaves and all, their traditional, ceremonies and all those things. So we're not going to dive deep into that. Okay, let's move on. So although the shortest of the redwoods, it grows to at least 165 feet in height. Local villages refer to the original tree from which most others derive as Shuishan, I hope I said that right, or waterfur. Right? So does anyone have any questions on that? Or does anyone have anything to add that you all know about this tree? seems odd. So let's move on to the paleontology side of this. So given that the high latitudes in this period were warm and tropical, it is hypothesized that the deciduous state evolved in response to the unusual light availability patterns, not to major seasonal variations in temperature, right? So like I said, so these living fossils, they make certain changes to, these species in order to make sure that they don't go extinct, and they basically adapt to their nature, their environment, right? So that's how they survive. And plants that did not adapt to these environments and new situations, those were the plants and animals that went extinct, right? So that's what they say about living fossils, and that's why they are so important right now, because you don't really get to see a lot of animals nor plants that are living fossils. So we need to make sure to protect the living fossils that we have, because that helps us a lot with research and to get to know how it was like back in the prehistoric ages and all, right? So I think we have a video for you all explaining these plants that are living fossils. So I'll be giving this to Ayoob, so hope you all enjoy, and thank you for joining.
Thank you, Charith. Mali, I hope you all understood everything Charith I had to explain to you all. So yeah, Mali, like Charith I said, we have a video explaining further on details regarding plant living fossils. I hope you all enjoy. So Mali, please unmute and tell me if you all can hear the audio.
Yes, I can hear.
You can hear, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
In Shangjiaji, the ancestry of plant life dates back to hundreds of millions of years. During the Quaternary period ice ages, the majority of plants on Earth died out. And the survivors have come to be called living fossils. Thanks to the mountain-forming Neogene period, Shangjiaji, which is part of the ruling mountains, is a nearly endless mountain range. Having escaped the devastating cataclysm, Shangjiaji has become the refuge for ancient plants and preserved the valuable biodiversity for the whole world. Ginkgo is one of the lucky plant species to live in Shangjiaji, this oldest gymnosperm plant on Earth. Is extinct in most parts of the world. Only a small population survived in China. In Shangjiaji, ginkgo is not a dominant species and is rare in occurrence. But behind it is a venerable ecosystem traversing hundreds of millions of years. The dove tree, katsura tree, spurleaf, Chinese spruce, round-winged fruit cyclocarya, and dawn redwood. All these plant species are living fossil plants that have survived through adaptation and evolution. In Shangjiaji, large communities of these plant species can be found. The world's largest and most intact community of Chinese spruce is found on Badagongshan Mountain in Shangjiaji. These wild trees are undergoing a slow migration. Collectively, they are moving upward to higher altitudes at a pace that is barely discernible. Some used to grow in low altitude areas, but now all of them have withdrawn to the ridges over 1,000 meters above sea level. This is a rivalry between new plants and ancient plants. Compared with the Chinese spruce from the Tertiary period, the Mason pine from the Cenozoic era is better at adapting to today's climatic conditions They've occupied an advantageous location and driven the spruces to the barren soils on the mountain ridges. Survival of the fittest is a law equally applicable to plants. In Shangjiajie, Tianpingshan Mountain is the scene of the most vivid examples of plant succession. Here, the tertiary period plants are bidding farewell to its primary phytocenosium, making way for Cenozoic era species. Glabrous leaf epaulet tree, spurleaf, and katsura tree. These rare and ancient species can be found at several meters intervals. But they also face challenges from Cenozoic era species. This linden overshadows the spurleaf and hogs most of sunlight, constantly putting squeeze on the living space of the latter. But the living fossil species have managed to survive to this day. Their willpower is certainly not to be sniffed at. The spurleaf resolutely gives up its crown and extends sideways. Perhaps several decades later, the spurleaf can replace the linden to become the overlord of this patch of earth. The passage of hundreds of millions of years has never dulled the spirit of these living fossil plants. They have gone through all the vicissitudes and survived through their flexibility. They've seized every moment to demonstrate their strength and vigor. When you come to understand what these ancient plants have gone through, perhaps you will truly comprehend the meaning of life.
Okay, Mali, that's it for plant living fossils as well. So Mali, hopefully you all understood everything.